Tobin and Leroy here with you, 560 WQAM. Want to let you guys know we got Jason Aldean bringing his full throttle tour to the I Think Financial Amphitheater in October. Keep listening to our show. We got a pair of tickets to give away today for that show. It's a Live Nation tour. Let's get to headlines here, brought to you by Doral Hyundai. At Doral Hyundai, choose over 1,300 new Hyundai miles in inventory at the Tucson, Sonata, and Palisade. Remember, when it comes to Hyundai, the great deals are at Doral Hyundai. We'll talk later on this hour with Peter Pratt. We have regathered him, so he will hop in later on this hour. We'll talk some fish with him. The spring training is underway. But as far as headlines are concerned, the Dolphins, according to NFL Network's Cameron Wolf, the Dolphins are going to let safety Jevon Holland test free agency and do not plan to use the franchise tag on the Snowman.
There's a couple of things here.
No, Leroy, explain it.
There's a couple of things here. It kind of has the same feel of the Christian Wilkins deal where he played and now they really don't feel like they can afford him.
Mm-hmm.
What?
But the thing that bothers me is if I'm Chris Grier and there's questions about how I draft or whatever, you're not helping your cause by getting rid of all of the guys you drafted.
Nope.
And so you got to have some, staples, some guys, some young guys you brought in. They playing all these contract games with the guys they drafted. That usually doesn't end well.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it bit him in the ass last year with Andrew Van Ginkel. Certainly, even at a much look, the Wilkins thing was a pretty public thing for a couple of years. We kind of knew where that was going. Javon, it's an interesting one because, I think by most people's eyes, it wasn't his best season, but I still think there's a lot of people that look at him and be like, oh, he's 24, 25 years old. He is obviously got a lot of dynamic talent. He has been playing banged up. I mean, he had the year where he had the 2 knee injuries. Last year he played with the thumb and some other stuff. There was some questions about whether or not, did he lay it all out on the line during certain seasons because he was making business decisions. I don't know. But I do think that the guy's not a bum. And again, you're going to probably get nothing for him.
Right. You're
gonna end up losing a guy who definitely was a good pick, and now we're at the.
Let's think of all the guys. So we got Javon Holland, Minka Fitzpatrick you traded, Christian Wilkins walked, Van Ginkel walked because you didn't want to give him $10 million. Who else?
I mean, Noah Benogany played a lot for the Commanders last year.
No, right. So there's just,
and they.
What's the point? Don't have any draft picks then.
Yeah,
it seems like they're costing you more problems than they're helping.
But that's the thing that he's like. Look, Chris Grier very clearly has a comfort in the known quantity. Like he likes making the home run cuts. He likes making monster trades. That's what he likes doing.
Right.
And I think from his standpoint, losing another guy from this young defense it is disappointing because I think my thought is he's going to go somewhere else and he's going to be Ed Reed. He's going to ball out.
Right. But my whole thing is that part of the reason why you can question his drafting is because the players that actually pan out aren't on your team.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think just his running of a team right now is in question. I think that's what everybody is looking at and being like, can this guy was basically like, all right, he tore down to the studs. And, it was like, oh, that's cool. I need that. But then also, man, it'd be really cool if I had a waterfall fountain that was in my foyer,
right.
And it's like, well, don't you need a kitchen sink? Nah, dude, waterfall. I'll just wash my dishes in the waterfall.
That's pretty much. So now you have, and if it's not proof now, it should be in the future that if you don't have an offensive and defensive line, you can't win. And we have all the skill positions you could ask for. So seeing the way Philly played, seeing the way Detroit played, seeing how Kansas City struggled, everybody in the league should be fortifying their offense and defensive line.
Right.
And getting a viable run game. The Dolphins have signings that, in the scheme of things, the way football and successful football is played, in the scheme of things, those pieces are irrelevant to the success of your football team. Because you got some of the best receivers and cornerbacks in the league. But it don't matter if you don't have a pass rush or a protection for your quarterback. And that's kind of where this team is. So I don't know how you go about that. We've all seen the success that teams have had recently. And we consistently, after every Super Bowl, point to a dominant performance by a defensive lineman or a line or what have you. So as long as I've been around football, those things have been consistent with successful football. They have been.
And I think with Holland, it's, look, you're going to come into a year and the people who are like, hey, don't break the bank on a guy who gave you no interceptions last year. Now, to be fair, he did basically win you the Jags game. Like, he won that game punching out that fumble.
Had a broken hand the whole time, too. I saw him drop a couple picks. I understand. I mean, not a broken hand. You know, the thumb issue that you were mentioning.
The soft cast thing.
Yeah, he essentially was playing with one hand. And he does have some injury issues that you do want to keep an eye on for sure. But like you guys were mentioning, if you don't retain young talent, what's the point of drafting?
Right, exactly. And so are we going to, in the future, build the team like Pat Riley, F them picks?
I don't know. Because that's the thing is like it doesn't ever feel like there's any foresight with the Dolphins. It feels like they're always on their back foot with this stuff. Like they're always
it does, and it seems sometimes I wonder if they're watching the same NFL I'm watching. Right? Sometimes I'm wondering, like, they had a successful run game one year where all that outside stuff was working. But if you look at the teams that have success and go far in the playoffs, they all run in between the tackles. Now, however that works, right? You got to have a solid run game at certain parts of the game and the season. And so I've never, like, and I tell you this every week, the thing that drives me crazy the most with this team, I've never seen a team get more 2nd and 13s and 2nd and 14s than the Miami Dolphins. It's baffling to me. If a team were to just snap the ball and take a knee, they'd be in a better position than the plays they are calling. That's crazy.
Be less razzle dazzle, dude. It wouldn't be as cool.
I mean, I guess it's just crazy to me how, like, and look, I will say this. I'm going to say Chris Grier knows more about building a team than I do. I'm going to say that because that's his profession and it's not mine. However, a guy that's seen as much football as he has, to neglect the offensive line or to not try and build, especially with Tua, the best offensive line possible, I think he should take some of the heat.
But it also seems like they're at a weird spot with that too, because it's like right now they don't seem to even know, is Teron coming back? Is he not? Are they going to have their 2nd round pick even play next year in Patrick Paul? Very clearly they're going to, probably move on from Eichenberg unless he's playing for peanuts. I don't know, but it seems like they'll probably end up with 2 new guards next year. You assume that Jackson's going to come back and play. Brewer was good last year. So,
but you need some kind of consistency. The thing that has plagued this
offensive
line,
it's hard to do that if you have
right.
Respectfully to Teron, like you don't, I know he played 15 games last year, but
he didn't play 15 games.
He didn't finish 15 games last year.
Right.
So I don't know, man. Like that's the other thing is like
again,
where is even the foundational of this build
right.
or fixing?
Correct.
Where is it going to start?
The problem is that at one of your most important positions, you always have to have a backup plan, right? And at offensive line, your backup plan shouldn't be so extensive as they have to be when you're playing with this offensive line. And Teron's awesome when he plays and he's healthy, but it's maybe those 3 or 4 weeks that he doesn't finish a game or doesn't play that you have to be prepared for.
Right.
Now,
yeah,
if Patrick Paul was farther along to where they thought he could do the job, then it would be a no-brainer.
Yeah, but then like let's say he comes back next year, and then you have a year where it's like, all right, Teron does the same thing, like he plays 13 of 17 games.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're getting into year 3 with a second round pick who's that's a 4-year contract. You don't even know if the guy's going to be a capable starter or not.
That's what that bothers me with what the Heat do too. Like they'll not play young guys, and then when the guys start playing, you've now played them 1 year, and now you got to max them out because you didn't get your money's worth.